Hello dear readers and subscribers. Welcome to our second part of the most iconic installation artworks of the 21st century, presenting 5 more after discussing 5 truly iconic pieces 2 weeks ago. Please note that this entire series is part of our larger series of art, great art since 2000, so definitely make sure to read or watch our articles and videos discussing the most iconic paintings, sculptures and audiovisual artworks as well. That being said, let's have a look at the remaining 5 installation artworks you need to know.
In all honesty, I was expecting to see Anselm Kiefer in our segment with the greatest paintings since 2000, but the iconic permanent installation in former industrial space in Milan, titled The Seven Heavenly Palaces, is simply such an architecturally ambitious and materially dense installation that one cannot ignore it. 7 concrete towers, each between 14 and 18 meters tall, rise from the floor of the hangar. Their surfaces are embedded with steel rods, lead books, broken glass, dried flowers, photographic images, and fragments of text. They are simultaneously ruins and monuments, ancient structures and recent constructions, sacred architectures and industrial waste. It also makes me wonder whether this work is an exhibition of paintings and sculptures or a permanent installation, although that distinction matters only categorically and feels utterly irrelevant when walking through it. The installation was expanded and deepened over a decade, with new towers and elements added between 2004 and 2015 as an accumulation of matter and lingering thought. It remains permanently installed at the Pirelli Hangar Bicocca and is widely regarded as one of the defining achievements of Kiefer's late career. Michael Elmgreen and Ingar Draxet installed a permanent, functioning replica of a Prada boutique in the West Texas desert in 2005 and created what may be the most photographed artwork of the century. The building is stocked with actual Prada products, shoes and handbags selected by Miuccia Prada herself, sealed shut and left to the landscape. It is never opened, and the products inside were treated with anti-degradation measures to ensure they would remain visible through the windows indefinitely. But the building itself was allowed to weather, crack, and settle into the desert floor at its own pace. Sited on Route 90 between Marfa and Valentine, Texas, miles from the nearest town, Prada Marfa strips the boutique of every context that makes it legible: the city, the street, the consumer, or the transaction, leaving only the brand itself. A logo, a set of windows, an architecture of luxury desire set against scrubland and sky, that has since been repeatedly vandalized, legally contested by the state of Texas on sign ordinance grounds, and endlessly circulated on social media and in music videos, has only compounded its cultural footprint. Ai Weiwei filled the turbine hall of Tate Modern with 100 million individually handcrafted porcelain sunflower seats for his Unilever series commission in 2010. Each seat was made and hand-painted by a team of over 1,600 artisans in Yingdijin, the city in the Jiangxi province that has been the center of Chinese porcelain production for over 1,000 years. Only through close inspection revealed the individuality of each piece, the slight differences in color, shape and brushwork that marked each seat as a distinct handmade object. The work operates on several registers simultaneously. Obviously, it is a meditation on mass production and the erasure of individual labor within it. The seats look industrial, but they are not. It is a commentary on Chinese manufacturing, political conformity, and also the suppression of individual identity. The sunflower carries also a very specific historical weight in China, where it was used as a symbol of Maoist devotion, the mosses turning toward their leader as flowers turn toward the sun. When Tate initially invited visitors to walk across the seats and was subsequently forced to prohibit it due to the concerns about ceramic dust, the restriction itself became part of the work's meaning. Because the question of what can and cannot be touched, held, owned or censored was already Ai Weiwei's subject, and would become even more urgent when he was detained by Chinese authorities the following year. Christian Boltanski was invited to occupy the Grand Palais in Paris for Monumenta 2010, and the installation he created there, titled Personne, a word meaning both persons and nobody in French, was among the most affecting works of his career and one of the defining large-scale installations of the century. The entire nave of the Grand Palais, one of the most magnificent public interiors in Europe, was covered with hundreds of mounts of used clothing, arranged in a grid across the floor. At the center of the space, a large mechanical crane moved slowly above the largest single pile, periodically grasping a handful of garments and lifting them before releasing them again in an endless, arbitrary cycle of selection and return. The reference to the Holocaust was of course unmistakable, to the piles of clothing left at the camps, to the arbitrary logic of selection, to the reduction of persons to material, and Boltanski rarely felt the need to name it directly. But what he understood, and what Personne made viscerally present, was that the scale of the Grand Palais could transform mourning into something almost geological in its weight. A real field of anonymous human lives, accumulated until they became a landscape. Personne was seen by over 100,000 visitors during its run. Boltanski went on to describe it as one of the works he was most satisfied with in a career spanning 5 decades. It remains one of the most powerful responses to historical atrocity that installation art has produced. We conclude with Marta Minuyin, who first built a Parthenon from banned books in Buenos Aires in 1983, the year Argentina returned to democracy after years of military dictatorship. For Documenta 14 in Kassel in 2017, she rebuilt it at full scale at the Friedrichsplatz, using 100,000 books that had been banned somewhere in the world at some point in history. The books were donated by readers, publishers, libraries, and institutions from across the globe, each one individually wrapped in transparent plastic and hung from a steel scaffold constructed in the exact proportions of the Athenian original of the Parthenon. The structure rose there for 19 meters and could be seen from across the city. Here, site and concept are powerfully intertwined. Because it was on the Friedrichsplatz that the Nazis burned books in 1933 in one of the most deliberate and symbolic acts of cultural destruction of the 20th century. To rebuild the Parthenon, the architectural emblem of democratic civilization and rational inquiry, from the very objects that authoritarian regimes most reliably destroy, on the very site where that destruction was enacted, makes it very safe to say that this ambitious installation is not relying on mere scale or spectacle. At the close of Documenta 14, the scaffold was dismantled and the books were removed and redistributed freely to the public. The monument was taken down, the library restored and dispersed. As a result, its monumental and participatory nature, requiring the worldwide collection and also the physical donation of books, gave the work a collective dimension that conceptual logic alone could never have achieved, producing an iconic synergy that makes it one of the greatest installation artworks to date, in every sense of the words.
This concludes our list with the greatest installation artworks since 2000. I hope you enjoyed this selection, and you can read the complete article on contemporaryartistry.com, including a lot of interesting features, conversations, and other top lists. If there are any installation artworks you think we've missed, then I would love to hear that in the comments below. That being said, thank you very much for tuning in today. Feel free to watch part 1 about the most iconic installation artworks next. Support us on Patreon and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.